So really, unless you've been in a situation where you've gone through it and you've learned alongside another family, like you don't have that knowledge as a teacher to be like, you need to be thinking about this.
Oh, I'm glad you asked
Unlike,
that
like
question.
the kids that go to college and they're like, you can't get in your students' records. And I'm like, I'm paying tuition. You're gonna give me access to the records.
Welcome to Spedsplaining, where special education gets decoded one case at a time. I'm Stefan, a former classroom teacher and current instructional coach, and I'm joined by three brilliant minds in special education: Darcy, Anna, and Leanne. Each week, they take real stories, often from right here in Washington, and break them down into plain language. We use these stories as a launch pad to explore the wild, wonderful, and sometimes frustrating world of general and special education. Whether you're an educator, parent, advocate, or just curious about how the system really works, we've got you. Let's dive in.
Okay, so we have a young adult with a disability who just finished 12th grade in the spring of 2022. So fairly recent.
Recent.
I know. He was 18. He had made it through all the ups and downs of school, and he even walked in his graduation ceremony. He wore the cap and gown. His family clapped. All of that happened, but that was symbolic, not final. He was still eligible for special education services and had not completed his education at that time. His
So he
IEP
walked, but he
team,
didn't graduate.
right. And maybe we should explain that that's a common practice, that our students with disabilities who are going to continue their education until 22 or some period between 18 and 22 can still walk in the ceremony with their peers,
I
but
say
they
that
don't
that makes sense.
actually.
Yeah,
Right.
like there's all their buddies are surrounding them, giving that experience. Love that.
Yes.
Graduation rocks. Let them go. You know what I'm saying?
It is a really, really exciting and special day that every kid should have the right to participate in with their class. So love that law. Is it called
Kevin's
Ryan's
law.
law? Who?
Kevin's.
Thank you. I thought
Oh,
it
it's
was
it's
Ryan.
an
It's
actual
Kevin.
law.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's a case we should cover someday because
Uh,
I'm sure it came out of a case.
completely agree. Because here I am assuming it's just schools doing the right thing. Like, who needs a law for that? That was a
The
dumb thing
one
to
school
say.
that doesn't do the right thing.
There you go. Yeah,
We have a
yeah.
law for everything. It's like when every time I like talk about the restraint and isolation law, like says in there aversive interventions, you can't use tasers, you can't use zip ties. And everyone's always like, why is that in? Because it's in there because someone has messed up.
Yep.
I mean, every law is because somebody did it wrong. So, um, unfortunately, though, yeah, there needed to be a law for that. But fortunately, it is something that districts regularly honor well. But I would say there are pieces that do get confused with graduation with students with disabilities, as far as like, I think there's a lot of training that could still happen on what you leave undone, what that looks like on the student record end with Skyward, because sometimes they will unintentionally assign graduation to a student. That was a bird walk. Let's go back to the case.
But it's
So
important to know that the technical side of it is really complicated.
it is. And it requires a lot of communication that during the time of graduation is difficult because everything's moving at a quick pace and there's so many details to work out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a zoo. Yeah.
Yes. So in the fall of 22, he went back to school. His IEP was in place. He was participating in transition services, but his mom started to grow uneasy. She did not think he was ready to graduate. She didn't think his transition goals were being met, and she worried that the district was moving too quickly. But they had written on the IEP, there's a projected graduation date, and it had said January 2023. So he was just going for one extra semester after his peers graduated. So at that time, they received his regular high school diploma.
In
And just like
January.
that, yes, just like that, he was no longer eligible for special education because that's what that diploma means. You're done. And we did the wash your hands
No, we did
motion
the
after that.
congratulations, welcome to the adult world.
Yes, I
So
don't.
Life
can
now is going to happen to you.
can I
You have
ask
to
what?
advocate for your services. It's all different systems, all different programs.
Yes.
Yeah, graduation I think is scary for, I mean, every kid. It's a little scary to know what you're going to do when you've had to sit down and raise your hand to go to the bathroom for the last 13 years of your life. Um, but is there, I mean, most of my experiences with life skills, so like staying till you're 21, now 22 isn't uncommon. Is it, but for those not necessarily needing such extensive supports, is it common to only go an extra semester? What is that like?
The IEP team can pick a graduation date at any point after that 4 years, right? They can say they need another 6 months. They can say they need another three.
Mm.
Oops,
And
we
that
missed this one part and we didn't do the community experience with landscaping. So we're going to do that one part. So it's
so
totally up to the IEP team.
typically that's really heavily focused on like their transition planning goals.
That is definitely the focus.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the school team, the IEP team should have determined what piece of graduation wasn't met. Is it credits? There's the three credits, transition plan / high school and beyond plan, and then a pathway. And the student had met the pathway and the credits. So it was just that transition plan / high school and beyond plan that was left. And so the diploma was issued, services stopped. The mom was stunned. She believed the district made the decision unilaterally without her consent and without ensuring that the goals had really been met. So she filed for due process.
Oh, I have so many questions already because like my first one is so to determine that graduation date, you have to do it prior to the year that the kid turns 16. So you have from like 2 years before they turn 16, typically in high school, to talk about their course of study, what do they want to do, their transition, and then you have another 2 years after that to be like, are we on track? What goal did they meet? What are they missing? And like, how in that stretch of 4 years did we unilaterally decide when the kid was going to graduate?
Great question. She was present at all the IEP meetings, and that information was in all of the IEPs.
So the date didn't get changed. It was a consistent date throughout his entire high school experience.
Yes.
And could you get to the senior year and be like, I'm concerned? Like, was there any like anything like that? Like, did they say what his transition plan pieces that were missing were? Or did they
There were
not actually share that?
definitely there were definitely things that were coming up, and we all realize as our kids get closer to graduating that they may not be ready for the real world. Like, I can understand how that would start to look different as you're actually getting closer. But
Mhm.
there were a few pieces. There was they did go get an evaluation for DDA. And
Oh,
that
wow.
showed, yeah. So DDA is they changed the acronym, I feel like.
What does it stand for now?
I think it's
The
What?
Division
Department.
of Disabilities for Adults.
It's
I'm
not
guessing.
administration anymore. I think it's administration at the end, but whatever.
I was going to look
It's
it up.
Developmental Disabilities Administration.
okay.
Did
There we
There you
you
go.
go.
get DDA stuff when you're younger too?
Yeah.
Hmm. But that suggests a more severity of the disability. And
Mhm.
and there was a
Did he get
neurodiag.
accepted by DDA? Did DDA take his case? Did it say?
I think so, yes. Yes, but then there was a neurodiagnostic assessment done that had mild intellectual disability, ADHD, SLD, in reading, written language, and math, which is interesting. Why? How do you have that when you're intellectually disabled? But
Yeah, those don't connect.
these.
But it
Um,
shows a bigger impact than a kid that I would think of that maybe only needed 6 months to get something, right? To like master it, whatever it was.
right.
But I also
Um,
think too, like the other piece is kind of keeping that fear of graduation because the adult system is even more complex than the school system, but we're uh, a right. Like you have a right to this. It's our job to make sure we get it to you. And the adult system is the opposite, right? Like you have to seek it out, you have to apply, you have to meet certain standards and those things. So I think of like sitting in the stands at graduation and like looking down there, and I'm like, not very many of you are actually ready to be adults. And yet, good luck.
I mean, that is true. The
That's
baseline
really
of
my age. I
readiness.
just feel like there's a
Yeah.
lot kind of.
And in the school system, you just have people helping you the whole way. And you really don't get that the second you graduate. Like there's no one to help you.
Well, isn't that the purpose behind the high school and beyond plan? I mean, I don't know from this. Well, is it the same? You kind of lumped high school and beyond plan and transition plan together, like that, because that transition plan is specific to students with special needs. But the high school and beyond plan is universal for, are those same high school and beyond plan for students with
You know,
disabilities and
we like to pride ourselves on every good idea comes from special ed and then gen ed
yeah.
takes it. And so the high school and beyond plan is
Just like
kind
our
of them
household?
stealing the transition plan. Yes, they're
Okay.
pretty
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have that going to going through my own education, and it wasn't around when I was in the classroom. I think it was the high school, but they've started to creep it down farther into, and that maybe gave it a negative connotation. I love it. I think it's a genius idea. I think everybody should do it because the more you can be self-reflective about your long-term plan, be thinking about these things and be invested in that process, only good things can come from that. I think the implementation across the system leaves a lot to be desired, but uh, all of that, like, not many of you are ready to be adults. 100% agree. And isn't that what the high school and beyond plan is like trying to address, right? Like in theory, you've got this plan you've been crafting. That way you know what your options are, and it gives you a smoother transition into the adult world. And like the idea is that like you kind of can fly birdie fly with you've had the chance in a fostered environment with people holding your hand to be thinking about what life is like without this like safety net, you know.
I think
Um,
that's ideal right there. And I think it's more complex for students with disabilities because now I have to go and potentially, a story I know of for a family, a student who does still need support, works with DVR. Parent is asking questions. How can I help? They get a letter from DVR that says, this person is an adult. If you come to our office and want information, we will not give it to you. And so just think about how much more complicated it is in the adult system to try to navigate that when they don't automatically get, and I would say a case manager is the advocate, right? They don't automatically get that and what that looks like. So I can see that like fear for sure. And even if I went all the way through, and I'm sure you guys like knew exactly what you wanted to do when you graduated from high school and where you were going to go, right? And then there's like some of us that are just like, I don't know, somebody told me I had to go to college, so I guess I'll go there, right? I mean, I think there's still like so much that's that doesn't happen in the school setting to really be thoughtful about the transition and how often it can really change. I mean, even look now, like we have people, they used to stay in the same career forever. We have somebody leaving our agency who's been there for 38 years. Our kids don't stay in jobs for an average of 7.
Yeah.
So we're also kind of a little bit behind in what we're training our kids to do and the marketplace and the jobs that are going to be out there.
Oh yeah, now you're speaking my language, man. And and the upshot of that, what I tell teachers all the time is what kids actually need hasn't changed in the last 50 years. It's still communication and problem solving and teamwork and adaptability and analytical skills and like all of those soft skills or whatever things that you can really foster through social emotional learning standards and in any good teaching practices. I think those are still the same, but again, I know we're talking about a student with special needs that just looks very different for that population. When you've got a bunch of like neurodivergence going on, it's just that's the whole point of the special education system. When you're talking about that gen ed population, man, I remember talking to actually one of Anna's brother's friends, and he first time I met him and I asked him, I was like, what do you do? He's like, well, I actually just got laid off, but figure something else out. It was completely unfazed by the fact that he was currently unemployed, had a severance for like the next 6 months, was planning on just taking that time to like golf and kind of hang out and be with his family, and then just knew that he was going to get another job. And I was like, that is bonkers to me, because I did go into education thinking I'm okay being in the classroom for the next 35 years. Like this is
Okay, but there is a difference between severance and unemployment.
right. And true, right? Like he's still got that financial piece there, but like he could not have cared. That would have freaked me out so bad that like I am currently not working and don't really have a line on what I'm going to be. Now, he definitely had a lot of runway and was set up for a little bit there, but I remember asking him, I said that like that would freak me out, man. He goes, "Oh, it's super common." I had actually been there a long time. I was there for like 3 years. I was like, "What?" But that adaptability and jumping to different places, right? Like we're not. I think school systems in general don't do a good job of preparing kids for that type of mobility and flexibility, and it has a lot to do with the way our school systems are set up, for sure. There's some systemic stuff there, but I it didn't even occur to me that, oh, your kid's an adult now. So if you come in here, this kid you have been caring for and is still under your care, if you come in here and you request some stuff, we're not going to give it to you because like legally we can't.
And I don't think our school system supports teaching families that well. Like certain teachers do a great job at it for sure, but as a whole, we're not at 16. You need to start being ready to help fill out guardianship papers if that's your plan, because their 18th birthday, like I was helping one of my former students' mom passed of COVID. So I've helped their family ever since. And that was like as soon as they were working on adoption paperwork, so, they could stay with grandparents because they had to go through adoption paperwork. Then it was like, okay, we need to get your guardianship stuff ready because like you're going to have to start be doing this every couple years. Now you have to be filling out this paperwork. But for them, it was like, he has so many disabilities, he will never live independently. And I said, I know, and you need to fill this paperwork out every couple of years to keep him under your roof, essentially.
Oof.
And how do teachers, how do case managers learn that? There's not like a class. This is how it goes. This is what you do. And on top of it, it's costly to the family. They have to get an attorney, like all the things. And so, really, unless you've been in a situation where you've gone through it and you've learned alongside another family, like you don't have that knowledge as a teacher to be like, you need to be thinking about this.
Well, I'm glad you
Unlike,
asked that
like
question.
the kids that go to college and they're like, you can't get in your students' records. And I'm like, I'm paying tuition. You're gonna give me access to the records.
You know where the money's coming from? Yeah.
Yeah, guess who's funneling the funds here?
I mean,
Well,
that,
and students can
good.
go till they're 22, but it's very uncommon that you would have a student that wasn't in a life skills program going until 22. And I don't know that it's well understood that there are options for students that aren't in a life skills program. That, this student was qualified under the category of other health impairment for ADHD. And um, I think case managers just assume they're going to graduate with their peers, because we don't have a program that would look, like often we only see schools develop a program for students with more significant disabilities. And otherwise, it would have to be very customized and tailor made for that student that was just wanting to work on their math skills because they needed to be able to manage money in their adult life
I think
or
you could.
employment.
I think, like if you think about that, and I agree with Leanne, it's most common for our kids who are in life skills programming where how we're having that conversation. On the other end, a lot of young adults or adults at that point are making the choice that it's not socially acceptable to hang out at the high school anymore. Like that's not a jam.
Right.
But could you talk about a kid who does need help in math and be like, hey, what do you think about running Start? Right? I mean, there's ways to make it socially appropriate, but it's the more of the uncommon, or I would even say rare, than your kiddos that stay fully from 22 because they're largely impacted.
Mm.
And to make that look different. So taking someone from a smaller district to a bigger district that has a good program set, and like for her to be able to see, oh, he only comes here for 2 hours and then he goes and works at an auto body shop for the rest of the day, right? Like this is helping prep him. And so she was like, how do I do that when these kids are in my life skills class, right? Like the need isn't necessarily life skills programming. The need is to continue to stay and work on transition programming. But the placement, because it's a small district, is in life skills. So, and something like we specifically talked about is like, so maybe a worksheet isn't the best way to be working on their transition goals. Maybe we need to think a little bit more creatively in how we can be accessing this programming for all of our kids. Because like, just because they're 16 and not 20 doesn't mean that they, like they can still be accessing that in a more functional manner. But to have to change your curriculum and differ what you're doing from everybody else can be really hard. So like, how do we critically think and plan and creatively program for all of our kids to be effective? That's just hard when you have one every other year or something like that that's staying on.
And I think we need to like that, think about being as an adult. I mean, I know we just talked about staying in jobs forever, but think about if you did the same thing every day for 9 years, right? Like that alone. So the idea of like you've graduated, what looks different for you? High schools are little communities. Like there's nothing that says you've graduated, you have to come back from bell to bell. There's nothing that says we'll bus you. You have to be on the bus and you have to get here. And now you're going to stay bell to bell and go to these classes. Like we've got to start thinking and kind of challenging and pushing that system, I think, a little bit of what does that look like when your kid's not in high school and how do we make baby steps to get there?
For the record, there are well, if our numbers say anything, dozens of people out there right now screaming they would kill for that kind of stability. Darcy, like, could I do the same thing for 9 years? Oh man, I agree
Okay,
with
it's
you.
possible. It's totally not my jam.
Yeah, no, and I'm with you. Something that I tell people that I love about this job is I do something different every single day. They're going into year 5. There hasn't been one time where I've done the same thing. or like my jobs look different every year, and that rocks, keeps things interesting, keeps things new, keeps things fresh, right? And I think to Leanne's point, also all good things, that all good ideas that SPED has, Gen Ed adopts and takes as their own. Just listening to Anna say, how can that look different for this specific kid, or maybe a worksheet isn't the best example of what this skill looks like. Yeah, take that and expand that to general education, and you've got my philosophy and manifesto on what's wrong with general education, right? Like, we should be personalizing that type of education for all kids, but that means a complete dismantling of the structures that are in place. And I think what special education programs do so well, um, I'll put her name here, but we can take it out. Though her name's all over the place. Is listening to talk from about some of the things that she did for her program. One of the things that I just loved so much was they've got the lake there, and she knew or saw. I'm sure that you guys are aware that I mean, I wasn't, that like drowning is a like leading cause of death with kids with autism, because the water is very appealing, and then they can't swim, and one thing leads to another. And so she went out of her way to partner with a local it might have been Campbell's or something, to use their pool to teach her kids how to swim, bring in a swim instructor, and those types of things. And what I like about that is that's a teacher identifying a very specific need for the students in her classroom, and then meeting that need. And that it wasn't just, hey, let's talk about swimming, let's practice on the floor. And maybe if that's all you have access to, or teachers do the best that they can, but thinking creatively outside the box how to make those things work is what teachers do consistently. And I don't know how we got onto this topic, but I just feel like that's something that is in the DNA of every special education teacher, and just needs to be blown out across the system.
I think because this graduation date was picked 4.5 years ago, potentially 5, depending on when they said it, and that the parent was at the meeting ahead of time, or as participating in the meeting, and there's documentation that they talked about graduation, they talked about what that 6 months looked like, they talked about what that transition goal was, that I'm going to say that they found in favor of the district. This is me crossing my fingers.
I agree with you, especially if it didn't change and a family was present in those meetings. I think that district won.
Well, there's a lot more pieces, but I mean, sort of, but we got, onto other things, but she, yes, the district won.
Oh,
because they had done everything procedurally correct. They did do an appropriate transition assessment. They were very transparent with graduation date. I just looked again. They did move it back actually a little bit to that post high school piece, but
they even adjusted it. That's impressive. Yeah. Did they do a summary of performance when he graduated? When they
know that?
Maybe it doesn't say it there.
It doesn't. I don't remember seeing that. But one of the issues is the student had walked, still kind of in transition, but wrapping that up, the student applied at Bellevue College's program that they have for people with disabilities, for adults with disabilities. I can't remember what it's called. Do you guys remember? It's called, the program is an Associate of Applied Science in Occupational and Life Skills. And the student didn't meet eligibility for that program because of their IQ, and then
being too high,
being too low. And then, so yeah, I mean, there's just, but then later was qualified and was admitted. So the family was asking the district for compensation for the the amount that they paid in tuition to that program as well. So they were asking for quite a bit and did not end up getting anything because the district had procedurally followed all of the steps.
Good job, district.
Yeah. So, I
Yeah.
mean, good job, district, procedurally. But the questions that come out of this case are really just how do we know when a student is truly ready to graduate? How do IEP teams do enough to ensure that the transition goals are going to get the student where they, hope to be? And like Darcy said, how many kids actually graduate with the skills they need to access the adult world? Like, I think every student could probably benefit from extended time if they don't know what their next step is. Getting those pieces that we do for transition, we get to do such cool things. I mean, we get to work on supported employment. We get to go grocery shopping with kids and practice making a shopping list and sticking to a budget. We get to go to the bank and help them, open up a checking account. We get to do such important things that I think would apply to a bigger population than just our students with disabilities. And unfortunately are not part of the regular curriculum. Anyway.
Yeah, I want to add something to that though. That regular curriculum piece is rather than if we could push the system of rather of thinking, what do we do differently with extended time? I would challenge us to think about what do we do with the time we have?
Yeah.
Because there's no reason that we can't say, let's do this now. Because I think kids are ready for a lot more than what they have the opportunity to do. I personally think kids know when they have to go to the bathroom, and raising your hand to ask when you're still 16 or 19 years old still seems silly to me. And yet they've trained me really well. I probably still raise my hand and ask if I can go in the middle of a meeting.
Well, because that's
Yeah.
less about fostering how I guess I should put it this way. How much of our school system as a whole is more about fostering compliance and ensuring a certain element of structure and control for good reason rather than promoting like problem solving, individual like ownership, because that stuff that's a risk. That is a risk, right? Like, because kids will find those gaps in your system and exploit them. That's their job. They're
They're
supposed to do
very
that.
good at it.
Yeah.
I also think today's kids, like my own kids, really know that there's a lot of things that they're taught in school that don't apply to the real world.
Yes.
And they want that real world tie so badly.
Yes.
And all of a transition plan has a real world tie. Even the math is taught as, this is where you're going to use that math is when you pay your bills at the end of the month or, so I think we have a lot of work to do to maybe track students a little bit better on where they're headed and offer more courses, which is really difficult in a small school because we have to have all those college ready courses. And then we have to have the courses for the kids that aren't going to go to college that need to be ready to manage their household right away. So it becomes difficult logistically.
Yeah, and I'd add on to that part of the danger with, okay, so first I'd agree with you that kids, especially now, are kind of wise to the fact that a lot of the things they're doing aren't as applicable, or they're seeing those connections not being made. That's definitely been around for a bit. How long have kids been asking teachers, when am I ever going to use this? And that question is tough, but in the world we live in now, that's become more and more accessible and more valid, honestly. I think the other side of that coin is kids are the worst at not recognizing what they don't know And so it's very easy for them to make that leap of like, well, ChatGPT can just do it for me. So why do I need to write this essay? And what 16-year-old is going to sit down with Mr. Troutman and go, all right, buddy, let's take a look at these ELA standards around organizing your writing. And not that the essay is the best way to meet that standard, but there's a lot of things that teachers know that kids just don't, and don't know that they don't know, and don't care that they don't know. And so they're so ready to make that leap to how is this applicable that they, if given the chance, I'd say most kids would be very willing to skip some of those crucial foundational concepts. That being said, we can be doing those foundational concepts in a much more engaging way and applicable way.
They could be embedded a little bit more into the
100%.
the content.
Yeah.
And that's that Dunning-Kruger effect of when you don't know, you think you know everything.
Yes.
And that is absolutely true. Teenagers should not be in charge of designing curriculum. But
I'd like to see them try.
But I think we could answer their questions better of how does this apply to the real world with a lot of the things that we teach. Even history, when they think that they don't need to know history. Like, no, that
don't
applies.
even history me. That's potentially the most important thing. Even
we could all use a refresher.
There you go.
Thanks for tuning in to Spedsplaining. If you've got questions or thoughts about today's episode, we'd love to hear from you. Head over to our links where you can drop your questions, join the conversation, and connect with us. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode if you found it helpful. Until next time, keep on learning and stay curious.